again, sizing up Murphy. Drives, floats, hangs, and scores on the turnaround. J-Dub way behind the three-point line and hits way behind the three-point line. Got blocked. What a rejection by Holmgren. Standing tall like a wall.
This is Dart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast, coming to you live Sunday, December 8th, as we are getting prepared for the NBA Cup. Sure hope they win. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. I am joined by a couple of fellas. We got Justin Peabody.
Hello, everybody.
Nick Crane is here.
There's a few teams, one cup.
2 teams, 1 cup.
I'm surprised they haven't used that tagline. I wonder why.
They should definitely do it with the one old guy on the commercial.
The one old guy?
The Dos Equis guy?
It's not the Dos Equis guy.
Well, I don't know who you're talking about.
It's the guy on the cup commercial.
Oh, the cup commercial. I thought you were.
He is on there with a
something else.
woman. So if they had 2 women, it would.
Is it
really
the Sopranos guy?
Yes. And then
okay.
Is it the girl who played Ashoka?
Ahsoka?
Amoka?
There's a town in Oklahoma called Atoka.
Atoka?
Rosario Dawson.
There you go. I wasn't going to get that one.
Anyway,
We are
you
brought to
couldn't
you by
even get her character name right.
I pulled a Taylor in honor of Taylor not being here.
Yes.
Taylor should be here soonish. If JD were here, he would drop the sounder, "What about the little boy?" Because Taylor is currently putting a little boy to bed.
His little boy, just to clarify.
That sounds erotic.
What?
We're brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and the homies over at Prairie Artisan Ales. If you're a real one, go get some Prairie this holiday season. Both these guys are hammering some Prairie right now. Nick, I like that can. What?
It's a nice can.
What is that?
This is Tropicals. First time I drank it, I said it tasted like you're on vacation poolside. And I was quickly informed, yep, that's the whole point. That's why the can is a bunch of fruits sitting poolside.
Do you still feel that way?
I still do. It's one of my favorites, and it's high content. This one is 8%.
Oh.
No, Jacob, you're not big into the beers, but that one would do.
That'll do, pig.
High octane.
Justin, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a pumpkin pie treat.
No, it doesn't surprise
Wink.
me. Few things before we get started. I want to let you guys know you can find us anywhere on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky. I think Silva's still skeeting, so we got that going for us. You can also join the Patreon. It's a really fun place to go, hang out, talk with Thunder fans, join our live watch parties. At the conclusion of this pod tonight, we are recording a second podcast that is a Patreon exclusive podcast. If you want bonus content from us as well, Thunder Chick is in the chat tonight on the YouTube live. She had some very kind things to say about the Patreon and the Discord and the community that has been built over there amongst Thunder fans. It is been really, really awesome. So we would encourage you to come join. Even Nick makes an appearance in the Discord every now and then.
Even Nick.
And it is just a treat.
It sounds like slander.
It is absolutely not slander. It's meant as a selling point for the Patreon. So go join the Patreon if you haven't already. Are people in the chat calling me emo?
I think so. I think they're just
Justin,
big.
will you run the chat tonight?
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, chat, be nice to Jacob. He's sensitive.
I get down with some emo, some hot.
The emo label is actually accurate.
Some Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah.
Cut my wrists and black my eyes.
Yeah. Black my wrists and cut my eyes.
Nick doesn't listen to emo.
Clearly.
Sure don't. I thought it was called Screamo, not emo.
Screamo is emo that screams, brother. Learn what you're talking about. Oh, we might not get Taylor tonight. I didn't know the Chiefs were playing.
Well, they're per usual playing a divisional opponent, which means it's an automatic win because their division sucks. So he probably will be on.
Oh, okay. After he's done with the little boy.
No comment.
Justin, talking about little boys.
Yes.
Before we start tonight, you made your coaching debut.
Oh, yes. I was not sure where that was going. Yeah, I did. Proud to say the All-Stars started off our season with a fierce 15-6 victory on Saturday, making my coaching debut with a bunch of 8-year-olds. It was chaotic. It was magnificent. It was tied 6-6 going into the fourth. And then one kid proceeded to hit 3 threes in a row on back-to-back-to-back possessions. All the confidence in the world, just pull up from behind the three-point line. Had this little middle school gym rocking like prime Steph Curry and Oracle. It was incredible. I was literally about to make a like, hey, let's not shoot threes anymore rule because it was just a lot of air balls. And then he did that, and I was like, I can't say it now. I can't take this moment away from him. This is the best moment of that kid's life. This might be the best moment of my life. It was awesome.
2 questions about the coaching debut, unless these other guys have some.
Mm-hmm.
Question 1. I guess I have 3 questions. Question 1, how much did you yell?
Quite a bit. There's a lot of just like, hey, the other team's over there now. We need to go on that side of the court.
Okay.
And stuff like that. Had a girl sitting down at mid-court in the middle of the game. So
is it a co-ed team?
It is a co-ed team.
Nice.
So I had to coach her up. I was like, hey, we're still playing. We need to not be sitting on the ground.
How old again? Sorry.
8. They're
Okay.
8.
Okay.
And about there's 10 kids on the team. About 4 of them, 4 or 5 have played before. The rest have not. So it's fun. It's a blast. They were all psyched. That one girl on my team, my favorite moment, aside from the kid nailing 3 back-to-back threes, was the start of the fourth. It was 6-6. I was like, all right, last quarter, let's go. Give it our all. And this girl goes, wait, this is the last quarter? And I said, yeah. And she goes, and it's tied 6-6. And I said, yeah, it is. You guys are doing great. She goes, you mean we could win? And I was like, yeah, we can. And she was like, this is awesome.
Then she proceeded to hit 3 straight 3-pointers.
Yeah, dude, if that had been her, that would have been incredible.
She just came out there and cooked. Question number 2. Did you berate any referees?
No, the rest were awesome. They were super cool. They did a great job of like teaching the kids. I was actually like super impressed by them of like, they came up and talked to me beforehand, like, listen, in the first half, we're not going to stop play a lot and like call fouls a lot, but we are going to like tell them like, hey, don't do that. Don't grab their arm. Like, don't go back court. Make sure you dribble, like things like that. And then as the game goes on, like into the third and fourth, we're going to start calling it. But they did an awesome job of like educating on the fly.
Man, I would be such an asshole if I was a coach.
I know you would. Question 3. How many Dagnaltisms did you use?
Probably none.
Oh man.
I don't think we're that sophisticated yet. I'm working my long-term goal by the end of the season. We're going to be running a 5-out motion offense. I started doing
0-0 mentality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
Stack
definitely got that
days.
0-0 mentality. We're gonna be stacking days. Might
Working
have to
down
work some of
muscle.
those in at practice this week. But yeah, we're taking it one step at a time. Maybe next game we can hit double digits in the first half. We'll see.
We have a few comments,
Okay,
if you don't mind.
sure.
Smoot says these 8-year-olds will have Justin speaking like Doc Rivers in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Emo Jacob Niffin's hair said kids will have him smoking a pack a day.
Listen, thankfully there's like there's no trophy at the end of this league. There's no playoffs. There is a 20-point mercy rule. So if you're up by 20, they turn the scoreboard off. So it should keep things pretty lighthearted.
Man,
Sounds
taking
like
it
a-
easy on these kids.
Sounds like it's ran by the libs.
The YMCA.
Everybody gets
Nick-
participation medal.
Nick Jordan wants to know, what were the stats like? 6 to 6 is crazy.
6 to 6 is crazy.
Were you tracking like
I
plus
was
minus?
not. I was trying to make sure I didn't lose track of my rotations.
Were the points primarily isolation or were they assisted?
There's a lot of ISO.
Okay.
A couple assists.
Teaching them right?
We did not capitalize on our fast break opportunities. We had some aggressive defense. We got a lot of steals, and I don't think we scored a single point off any of the turnovers we forced. We tried our best, though.
Did you ever yell out, quote, "Cook King" after somebody made a bucket?
No, but when the kid who hit 3 threes came off, I said, "Okay, Steph." So
Nick Jordan also said, did they have a chance to beat the Washington Wizards?
maybe by the end of the season. Yeah, that's my goal. We're getting there.
Last one, Matt Noonan says he coached 7 to 8 year olds one year. One game after losing 24-2, a kid asked me, "So did we win?" And he said it was a close one.
That's awesome. I love that. The only negative is that because we're in the DFW area, their jerseys have the Mavericks logo on them. Thankfully, it's the cool one with like the basketball wearing a cowboy hat. But it's not as cool as if we were in Oklahoma and they had the Thunder YMCA jerseys like they get up there.
For reference, whenever I coached a Little League, because I did once, we were the Monstars.
We are the All-Stars. I lobbied for the Monstars, but nobody knew what I was talking about.
We lost every game.
Shocker.
Go to hell, Nick. Oh, all right. You guys want to talk some Thunder basketball? Also,
Yes.
Taylor's here. The little boy is taken care of now.
The little boy. Let's hope. Let's hope he doesn't wake me up. Either that, or if the Chargers score here
That's
again.
what she said.
I'm gonna use the excuse that Brooks woke up so I can go watch the Chiefs lose.
How'd you go watch them lose? All right, the Thunder won 119-109 in New Orleans last night in a game that's a little bit closer than it should have been. Got interesting down the stretch after the Thunder absolutely just beat the living hell out of the New Orleans Pelicans in the first half. It was actually a very entertaining watch in the first half. In the second half, it got kind of ugly. But in typical post-game fashion, I thought maybe we could discuss some of the bigger themes of the game, and of some of those themes we want to expand a little bit out to the recent Thunder run and what we can expect moving forward. So whoever wants to go first on a takeaway from last night.
Takeaway number 1. I think that
Will you make that announcement for every takeaway?
sure.
Thank you. We don't have sounders tonight, so that's on us.
The offensive ceiling of this team, and don't twist my words, I'll explain here in a second. The offensive ceiling in this team heavily predicates on Alex Caruso's ability to score. Not to say that he is the lone lever in the offense being good or bad. But when he's knocking down threes and spacing the floor and getting out in transition off of steals, it seems like everything else opens up. And while this game did get close in the end, I think the first half of this game, we finally saw what this team's offense looks like when it's humming. You'd like to see that more often. You can't expect that to be 4 quarters every night. But that was a different level than I think we've seen all year.
Agreed.
Alex Caruso finding a shot is a massive game changer for this team that has already been really, really good this season. We talk so much about, having guys healthy, but having a guy like that contribute on the offensive end of the floor, like he has for most of his career, do so in addition to what he brings on the defensive end of the floor it's a huge dynamic shift for this team. And the way the season started, not being able to see the ball go through the basket very often for Caruso, you started to wonder, man, is this going to be one of those situations where you trade for a guy and he's just kind of not exactly himself like he used to be? And that Pelicans game was a glimmer of hope that I think that offensive side of Alex Caruso is very much still there. And I think feels like something that the Thunder should be able to take advantage of.
I think it's kind of funny, a lot of times in sports, we always talk about regression to the mean, but there's progression to the mean as well. And we've seen that with Cason Wallace. And even though he didn't have a great offensive game last night, but still played well. And then Caruso, obviously, here over the last handful of games. Caruso 6 of 7 from the floor and 2 of 3 from 3. That's significant. I remember talking, I think it was a week ago, or maybe it was last Wednesday with Solo.
About a week ago.
We were asked about this second unit needing another ball handler or somebody to, should they go and make a trade for a Dennis Schroeder type of player? And sure, that's still on the table potentially. The one thing we talked about is just getting Caruso back in general. Not that he would even be the main ball handler and setting players up, but just like Justin mentioned, his ability to come out on the floor and just muck things up on the defensive side, get those steals and deflections. That leads to what the Thunder do best, playing in transition. And I think we've seen that with his return.
He's been awesome. I just pulled up the stats. AC has only been back for 2 games, I believe. Where's he at on here? 11 points in those 2 games on 64% from the floor, 66% from 3, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2 steals per game in 20 minutes. I don't feel like 20 minutes is enough.
If you look back to the Portland game, which was maybe his best game before this recent 2-game stretch, things look even better. That game, he had 17 points on 8 of 11 shooting. He only shot
first
2
half.
threes.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I think so. One of our listeners, Clay, who's a good buddy of mine, was texting last night during the game, and I think he's got a good point. Like, the jump shot for any player heavily predicates on legs much more than upper body. And when your hip isn't feeling right, it's probably hard to bend and get the right leverage and get the shot off. And it seems that since the hip has gotten better, his shot has been a lot better as well. Like it seems like there's a correlation there.
Yep. Imagine that.
And Nick, you were talking about that was it the Portland? Yeah, it was that Portland game where he kind of went off and he only shot a couple of threes. That reminds me of that play at the end of the game last night where he just gets the steal, runs up court, clearly gets a take foul that the refs didn't blow the whistle twice on that, which is insane.
Awful.
And throws down that dunk. Like, that's just the kind of stuff he does, dude. And I'm biased. I love the guy. Hey, speaking of AC, 13 days until the extension, right? December 21.
Yeah, you're right.
So, but defensively, when he checks into the game, there's just a different energy. Like, it blows my mind how good he is at on-ball defense and then where he is at everywhere else in the help defense. It feels like that guy is in 3 places at the same time. It literally is like, it's insane how good defensively he is.
Question. First 8 games of the season. Guess Caruso's 3-point percentage.
Oh, like 16%?
14-3.
Ooh.
His last 6 games, guess the percentage.
39.
38.
37.5.
Beat you again, Taylor.
Which is not great, to be clear. Like,
Price is right.
But still,
if he shoots 37.5% for the season,
you're great.
Yep.
sign me up.
Yep.
Speaking of AC, God bless that man. I would, whichever side of the Civil War Alex Caruso on, that's the side I'm on.
Wow.
I just want that to be known.
For anyone that doesn't think representation matters, just look at Jacob's love for Caruso.
I would go to war for that man. Go to war for that man. But speaking of him, we got to talk about, I think another big takeaway from this game and maybe a big theme takeaway from the past week is Cason Wallace. Last 4 games, Cason's averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.5 assists, 2.5 steals a game. He's shooting 45% from the field and 41% from 3. It feels like Caso has really turned a corner defensively, and has I don't know, he's just finding it. Even though he's not like regularly starting, he's just took 20 games and he's now found the rhythm.
He's just another player that's just so incredible defensively. And I think the perfect example, personification of Cason as a basketball player, it was one of the first plays of the third quarter where he goes and tries to get a jump ball, I think against Herb Jones. And he's unable to get tied up. Herb Jones ends up getting the ball. Cason plays him one-on-one, still there, right there in front of the Pelicans' own basket. Just basically bodies him. Is able to get the steal, finds J-Dub or whoever it was I think it was Dort.
It was
for a wide
Dort
open
ran
dunk.
and grabbed it. Yeah.
That was just absolutely insane. His utilizing his size, not causing a foul, and being able to do that. It's just, it's so impressive. There's not many players in the league that can do that.
And on the offensive side of the ball, I think the last few games we've seen some really spicy queso dunks, which have been really awesome. I think that
Spicy queso, you say?
spicy queso, I do say that. That the energy that he brings on both ends of the floor, I think it's something that's infectious. It changes the dynamic when you have somebody like that out there.
I love when he gets fired up.
Yeah,
Like was it the Toronto game where he just obliterated that dude, the steal and the dunk, and it was screaming everywhere.
Yep.
I
was
love
awesome.
that from Queso. I love seeing the energy from Queso. The ones that stick out are that dunk. Do you guys remember his first game ever?
Ooh, not quite.
I need more context.
Dallas YMCA in 2000 and
No, his first NBA game.
Was he coached by Justin?
Yes, to a 15-6 victory.
Game 1 last season. You guys
Tell
remember
us.
it at all?
Dallas.
Smoot in the chat saying,
No, it was Chicago.
"Oh, Chicago."
Game 1 last year was against Chicago.
Oh, right.
And he hit all those threes, and the second or third one, he hit in front of the Chicago bench and turned around, just talked
Just
mad
yapping.
shit. I like that Queso.
Do you want to hear a take on queso that is going to sound like a negative, but it's a positive? He's made. You do.
I don't think
you
we're
do.
getting an option.
No. I don't know why I framed it as a question, because I'm going to tell you anyways. He's made some mistakes recently. One of them was a lob to J-Dub that had no business being a lob yesterday.
Yeah. That was ugly.
He's had some other mistakes where he's had bad turnovers. I actually like to see that, because the next step in Cason's game is being not just this off-ball catch and shoot guy, spot up guy. It's actually more of that creation upside as a facilitator and a lead guard. And to get to that next level, he's going to have to make mistakes. And I like to see him trying and making mistakes versus shying away from it and being in the similar way as last year, which is very, very limited with his skill set.
Yeah.
So it's
Get outside your bubble.
he's definitely made some mistakes the last few games, and a couple in this most recent game where it was that wasn't great. But you got to have it.
That's the thing that stood out the most to me about Cason Nick, just his increased confidence as the season's gone along, and in comparison to last season as well. And honestly, I understand Isaiah Joe in the starting lineup, especially now that Hartenstein is back. The space that Hartenstein's able to create for Isaiah Joe leads to a lot of great offensive opportunities. And I also love a lot of things that Isaiah Joe does defensively as well. But I think now, watching the last quarter of the season almost, I think the Cason Wallace starting lineup is my favorite. We did also finally briefly get to see Alex Caruso with the starters, which I've been clamoring for all year.
Right.
It didn't look great because the team wasn't playing great. It was there at the end of the game. Kept him afloat because, we talked so much about Caruso already, he did a lot of things just to really kind of cool, I think, the Pelicans' offensive performance that they were having there in the fourth quarter. But all of that to say, Cason's increased confidence has really led to him fitting really well with these starters, especially defensively. I'm really enjoying it. And I think there's a reason we're starting to see more and more of Queso than Wiggins or Isaiah Joe in the starting lineup.
We've talked about this also since the trade went down. But other teams just have to be so pissed off to see, hey, finally Lou Dort is checking out of the game. And then the guy that was second all-team defensive team last year, or all NBA defensive team last year, checks in. That's just got to suck.
Crazy.
Yep.
Yep.
Embarrassment of riches.
You still have a Cason or a Shai or a J-Dub on the floor too. It really is pretty wild. Also, that's the dirtiest player in the league, Lou Dort, to you, Jacob.
You're right.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
I love it.
I wouldn't mind if he hit a certain Slovenian. Is that right?
Oh God!
In the Menards
that's
on
right.
Tuesday.
Luca.
Don't get them fired up.
We love
Fired
the
up.
rage bait comments. I'll throw another takeaway out there.
Mavericks can go to hell.
I think we should talk about the game that Shai had. First half, I mean, the Thunder were, as a whole, incredible in the first half against New Orleans. Shai was 8 of 9, I believe. Just absolutely cooking, getting whatever he wanted. Like the most wide-eyed Shai I think we've seen all season.
That Euro back to the offhand up and
Filthy.
under, like
nothing you can do. The second half, though, was a totally different story. And I think it was something that we got glimpses of in the playoffs. We've had glimpses of in different matchups. But I think that was one of the first times, or maybe this is recency bias, but like one of the most impactful times that we've seen a team just kind of like sell out to make things difficult for Shai. And that second half was as stark of a contrast to the first half as you could find. And I think it's great experience. Shai kind of had a comment post game that was along those lines of like, that's what the season is for.
Yep.
Is to have that experience and learn from it. But I think when I look at how the Thunder as a team played, they're going to need more opportunities to work when Shai is not doing what Shai does. When teams force the ball out of his hands and force other guys to step up, this team has to figure out, where do they go? Who's next man up that's going to take that load off of Shai's shoulders and lead this team to a victory? And I think that Pelicans game, it was a good opportunity to do that. And it doesn't always have to be one guy. It doesn't always have to be the same guy, but I think the more minutes those guys can have playing in those types of situations is going to help come playoff time, because especially in the playoffs, and especially if you make a deep playoff run, which you hope this team does, you're going to see that strategy, and you want to know that those guys have been battle tested and know how to respond. So I think that as much as you would have loved to see the Thunder cruise to a 35-point victory in this one and just get some rest, I think that play down the stretch was very important for the long-term growth of this team.
And to be fair, I still think they should have. It seemed to me on both sides of the ball, the Thunder really took their foot off the gas and honestly just expected the Pelicans to fold, especially given how the third quarter started. And like I mentioned, that play from Cason and the fast break points, the Pelicans call a timeout, they get the technical. And at that point, kind of felt like the Pelicans were going to fold and the Thunder expected them to. That kind of fired the Pelicans up.
Yep.
But regardless, going back to what you mentioned, what you're alluding to there is the Pelicans throwing multiple bodies and often double teaming Shai. You mentioned selling out on Shai, and that is something he struggled with now in the past. Now it takes a certain type of team, a certain team construction like the Pelicans have with their defenders, even with the injuries they've had, as well as like the Mavericks last year, to really be able to implement that. It's not like every team can go out there and do that. They're just going to get torched. But against teams like when you have a Herb Jones, for example, the primary defender on Shai, and some other great help defenders like the Pelicans have, we've seen Shai struggle with that. I like the way you kind of looked glass half full, because watching it last night, it was frustrating. It's like, what is Shai doing? These careless turnovers. It's very frustrating. But you're exactly right, and that's given these other players opportunities to step up. And I'll let Jacob kind of give any thoughts he has on the Shai comments before we get into my last takeaway. But J-Dub has been absolutely phenomenal. And I can't wait to touch on his game. Felt like he still didn't get quite enough opportunity, especially when Shai was struggling. But that's one guy that we've really seen kind of step up in those scenarios so far this season.
Do we think part of the solution to what does this team do when Shai gets bottled up is a personnel issue? And there's a question in the chat from Donnie. Doubling SGA is why they need a Schroeder type player. Another guy who can go get his shot when it matters. I think having that like secondary off the bench ball handler that has a lot of experience running an offense that you can trust. I know we talked about Schroeder on was it last Sunday's pod and why I think he would be an interesting fit for this team. Do you think that is something this team needs, Jacob?
Not necessarily. We haven't even seen the team at full strength. Like,
That's fair.
Joe didn't have a great game last night, but look at the past two. Like, what happens when Joe is the guy off the bench and starts to cook and make those things? We know what Aaron Wiggins does. We don't have time to talk about every single player on the roster tonight.
What happens when you stagger Chet and iHeart? You have iHeart's passing ability there in the second unit.
Yeah, AJ Mitchell has been really, really good as that secondary playmaker. Like, what does he look like with more reps?
Now, one thing I will say though about J-Dub, as incredible as he's been, and how we really couldn't ask for a better season so far from Dub a quarter of the way through, I have been a little disappointed because ultimately the Thunder want him to be that guy. And we saw that starting at the very beginning of last season when I was kind of surprised that Josh Giddey wasn't running the second unit as primary ball handler. Ever since that point, they kind of have given that to J-Dub, and he struggled in that role. And that's why I think it is nice. And we've seen the Thunder have success with another creator like an AJ Mitchell alongside Dub. So maybe we get to a point come trade deadline where that's the case. But I agree completely. I think just like you mentioned about the Shai point, Justin, about getting how great it is to get these other players those kind of reps and see how they handle those situations. I think you have to have more of that before you can make that kind of decision. But the final thing I'll mention too is that the Thunder were only 37.5% from the three-point line last night. Those problems go away pretty quickly if guys are hitting their three-point shots and spacing the floor.
Yep. I totally agree. And I think that's, again, long-term, that's what you build towards. So now, Taylor, since you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, man.
Let's talk about J-Dub.
Yeah, this will be our last takeaway. We can move on, I promise. But 27 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 10 of 19 from the floor. And the thing I'd love to continue to see is 4 of 9 from 3. He's increased the three-point attempts and has maintained the efficiency. It's incredible. The one thing is he still can't get to the free throw line no matter how hard he tries. But also had 4 steals. Thought he had a block. I guess they didn't count it. Just absolutely insane stuff from J-Dub. I had a stat. Over the last 16 games, Dub's averaging 23.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block on insane shooting efficiencies. Like, he's just been absolutely incredible. And again, I kind of want to see him get a little more opportunity, even playing alongside Shai. We finally saw the Shai-Dub tandem maybe at its best here last week. I want to see more of that. And when Shai is struggling like it was in the second half or he's off the floor, I want to see J-Dub be even more assertive. And I want to see him kind of take on more of that main playmaking, playmaker role and not just kind of hang out in the corner on some of the possessions he doesn't have the ball.
I think aggressive Dub, again, when we talk about things that change the dynamic of this team, same thing, right? To start this season, Dub was a little bit quiet, a little bit passive, didn't seem to have that same level of aggressiveness that we got used to seeing late last season.
It's bad.
That has not been the case lately. And I think
was disgusting.
It changes everything for this team because, again, it puts so much pressure on the opposing defense in a different way than Shai does too. I think that combination is really interesting. The dynamic between them and being so different makes it even harder to guard and harder for teams to game plan against and making you defend Oklahoma City in different ways. Just it makes it a much more difficult task. And I think that goes a long way into why this team, has the record they do, has the net rating that they do. And if Dub continues to lean into that aggression, you would hope to see that trend only continue.
I'm going to get a little emotional here. I hope Dub cooks the Dallas Mavericks on Wednesday. If he throws one down on Lively, he can't throw one down on Luka because Luka won't play enough defense to actually get dunked on. If he throws one down on Lively, I don't know what I'll do. Taking the shirt off's not enough.
Are you going to the game?
Not yet.
Be there?
I might
Not yet.
Tickets. I might take my pants off.
Oh, it's kind of why I asked if you were going to the game.
And it's Jacob's last game in Paycom, but worth it.
Nick, J-Dub playing at an All-NBA level. currently? Is he at an All-NBA level?
He is playing at an All-NBA level, but I don't think he is worthy of All-NBA, if that makes sense. Like, if 15 guys get the honor, I think there's probably 20 or 25 guys that are playing at that level. So the way you framed your question, yes, I think he is playing at an All-NBA level.
But you don't think he gets it this year?
I mean,
What if what if the last 10 games is what he does for the rest of the season? And his stats are similar to his current stats for the season, which are 22.6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. If that's where he ends the season.
I still don't think
With
so.
the Thunder as the 1 seed, he won't get All-NBA.
There's too many. I mean, there's too many. I think All-Star, a little more credit goes towards winning games. Like the number 1 seed generally will get 2 guys. All-NBA, I think, is a little more stats heavy. Like, do I think Jaylen Williams impacts the Thunder more than LaMelo Ball would in his role on the Thunder? Yes, because he plays defense, he's efficient, takes good shots. But LaMelo Ball's counting stats are better, and he probably would get an All-NBA nod over Dub, just as one example.
That's fair. That's fair. Justin, you have a few comments you want to run through before we move on?
Yeah, mostly about you taking your pants off at the Mavs game.
I like when people talk about me taking my pants off.
We have Thunder Chick saying text guest to Nick Jordan calling security. Smoot saying you got to save the pants off for the championship. So maybe we'll get you out to Vegas when the Thunder are going for the cup. And then Donnie.
Everyone has their pants off in Vegas.
That's fair. Donnie saying, can you guys use Patreon money to bail Jacob out of jail?
That'll be a GoFundMe, Donnie.
We'll find out. That might be a...
Find out next time.
Oh, Smoot clarifies. Pants come off for the NBA championship, not the NBA Cup. The Emirates NBA Cup is not
I could take off my pants and you could see the cup. Let's do some Prairie Trivia.
Pass. Yes, whiteboard time.
Gotta go get my whiteboard.
Oh,
you know who
boy.
still has
I still don't have a
got a
whiteboard.
whiteboard
Are you
yet?
kidding me?
Jesus, Taylor.
One of these days, I remember, but today is not that day.
He should lose. He should be deducted a point for every week he doesn't have a whiteboard.
I agree.
Especially because I'm doing so well.
Well, especially because I'm doing so well.
Chiefs kicked another field goal. Unbelievable.
I hate it when the Chiefs kick field goals.
Me
I hate
too.
the Chiefs.
Oh, before we do
Everybody
trivia,
does.
fun trivia stat. It's not going to be a trivia question, but I just saw this when looking through this. Where'd it go? That's not what I want. Hold on. When you look at the Thunder over the last 4 games, and you sort by plus minus, average plus minus over the past 4 games, can you guys guess who has the lowest plus minus and what it is? This is not a trivia question for Prairie. This is just a fun question to ask you guys right now. Who has the lowest plus minus on the team on the average of the past 4 games, and what is the number?
I feel like you're baiting us.
Is there like a minutes played threshold?
Yeah.
Nope.
Just anybody.
Just anybody.
Dylan Jones. And like a minus 12 or something.
Dylan Jones is 7th on the list at plus 6.5.
Oh, good DJ.
I'm gonna say it's like Shai. I'm gonna go the full opposite end of the spectrum. Say it's somebody like Shai, and that the lowest plus minus is like still plus 2.
Shai is number 2 at a plus 13.
Nailed it.
Nick, throw it a guess.
Lou Dort plus 1.8.
Lou Dort is 6th plus 7.8. The lowest on the team is Kenrich Williams in 13.4 minutes per game at a plus 2.5. There's not a single player that's a negative over the past 4 games.
I
Would
believe
bet
it.
money Kenrich was on the floor in the Pelicans game when they stormed back by 20, and that probably tanked his
that's
4-game
probably it.
average.
Yep. Let's do some Prairie Trivia. You guys got to close the chat window, but chat, please play along as we play some Prairie Trivia tonight. The boys already talked about the Prairie beers they're drinking, but can we get another plug for the Prairie folks?
Yeah.
On the pod?
Prairie has a bunch of great seasonal releases right now. They also have trivia every Sunday and every other Wednesday. They do lots of different themes. I think they had a Taylor Swift trivia recently. They've got a bunch of gift sets in the tap room right now, so you can get 2 bottles of beer and a glass, so you can be cool like me. Have your Prairie OKC glass to drink your beer out of. They're the best.
All right, let's do some trivia. All 3 trivia questions tonight come from our guy, Rob Baird from
Love it.
Patreon. Shout out, Rob. He has been killing it with these trivia questions.
Killing it.
And he's better at my job than I am, so I'm just letting him cook.
That's a low bar.
Cook, King. Cook, King Rob. He's a king of the North.
King Rob, King of the North. Hopefully he doesn't come across the red wedding, though. Am I right?
You're not wrong.
Yikes.
Rob made some of these questions more interactive due to a JD Silva request, and then that son of a bitch isn't even on the podcast.
Wow.
tonight.
That feels right.
Question
Typical.
1. Luka recorded his 79th career triple-double on Saturday versus the Toronto Raptors. Which 2 players did he pass on the all-time list on Saturday? Hint, one of the players is still an active player. 79 triple-doubles for Luka. He jumped 2 guys on the all-time list.
Yeah.
Who are the 2? One of them is a current player.
I saw the list tweeted out and just still have no idea who those 2 players are he
Dude.
jumped.
Oh, you like that shiny light? All right. Reveal your answers.
Gosh, dang it. Ugh, Chiefs. Sorry. We got all kinds of answers.
I said LeBron James and Karl Malone. I don't know why I said Karl Malone.
Play the little boy sounder.
No,
Karl
don't play that.
Malone.
Oh, is that the answer, Jacob? Wilt and Harden?
Yes.
Nick, did you get it?
Harden.
Saw the tweet. I got lucky on that one.
Boom.
You would. Nick's a closet Luka lover, so that makes sense.
Think like Nick's hate list goes Şengün, Mavericks as a whole, then Luka.
And above all, the Chiefs.
You and everybody else. Are the
They just-
Chiefs the Lou Dort of NFL teams?
The Chiefs are just the team that the fan base says the refs hate us, and the 29 other fan bases say the refs literally bail you out. And it's like, maybe there's a discrepancy there.
Yeah, we're the Warriors of.
I was
My
going to
audio
say, so you're the Warriors.
You're back, Jacob.
Exactly.
My audio back? Are we good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Question number 2. A multiple choice question. This was made for JD. So, JD, shame on you for not being here.
I like multiple choice.
Who is shooting over 40% on 3-point shots for the season for OKC? A. Lou Dort. B. Aaron Wiggins. C. Isaiah Joe. D. A.J. Mitchell. Or E. Jalen J-Dub Williams.
Ooh.
Once again, who is shooting above 40% from 3 for the
Only
Thunder
one of them is?
this season? Yes.
I'm torn between 2.
A. Lou Dort. B. Aaron Wiggins. C. Isaiah Joe. D. A.J. Mitchell. E. Jaylen Williams. I'm getting to use my teacher voice this podcast.
I'm locked in. I
it.
like it. That's a great teacher voice. Okay,
Oh,
Taylor.
sorry.
Taylor with the answer reveal. A little
Taylor is
premature.
going.
Little
Taylor, what's your
premature.
answer?
I said Aaron Wiggins, which I believe was B.
What letter was that? B. There you go. Nick, who do you got? Nick has got AJ Mitchell. Do you remember what number AJ Mitchell or what letter AJ Mitchell was?
I don't, and I only picked him because he's the one on the list I would least expect.
Bingo.
Justin?
Which is also my logic, and he's letter D for clarification. D, AJ Mitchell is my answer.
And Jacob, when you reveal, I think it's important to note, last year I think the Thunder had like 10 or 12 guys shoot above 40% from three. This year has not been the case.
The correct answer is D, AJ Mitchell.
Ah, well done.
To that.
Let's go.
Trivia question number 3 is a true or false, which I hate true and false questions. You got a 50% chance to get it right. The Thunder have a winning percentage, like a winning game percentage, since the 2008-2009 season when they moved to OKC. They're over. So we're placing an over-under on their winning percentage. Okay. The over-under is at 550.
Like 55%?
Yes. So it's kind of a true false, kind of an over-under. The question is, are they over 55%?
Do you want to say over, under, or true, false?
Let's go over-under.
Okay.
Are they over 55 or below 55? You get a bonus point if you get it closest to the rounded number. So if you say over 62 or under 45, if you're within one number, I'll give you a bonus point.
Okay.
We ready? Justin, what do you got?
I'm saying over, and my guess is that they are at 57%.
Taylor, what do you got?
I said over at 58, and I wrote true before just asked for clarification.
Taylor struggling without a whiteboard.
Very much so. Nick.
I'm either a dummy because I'm the only one that did under, or
genius,
or a degenerate gambler who thinks about lines. And I think that the line was set at 55 for a very specific reason, meaning it's close to 55 and either slightly over or under. I went under and said 54.
It's a good
The
thought
correct
process.
answer. I like writing the answer, so I'm going to write it real quick.
Cool.
And then I will
Extra
review it.
suspense.
Yes. That's the whole point. Also, my handwriting is atrocious, and I kind of like to show it off. Here's the answer.
Damn.
Dude,
Man.
you will. Does that say 572?
0.57.
You're not gonna believe me, but I wrote 572, and then I was like, "That's a weird number," and I erased the 2 and put a 0.
Don't believe you.
I'm still gonna take it.
No way.
I'm still gonna take it because that's pretty dang good.
That's hilarious.
If you would have written that down,
Dude, if I had written 5
bonus.
I would have thought you cheated.
Yeah. Like that
That's
time on The Price
crazy.
is Right where the guy got like exactly on the money on the Showcase Showdown and Drew Carey just like shamed him because he thought he was cheating. Is that too niche of a poll?
Yeah. Also, shame.
Yeah. Smoot in the
Listen.
chat telling you to stand on business.
Yeah. Thank you, Smoot.
All right. Let's take a break. On the other side, we are going to talk some more basketball. We'll be right back. And we are back. Gentlemen, podcast is running kind of long, apparently because some people are unimpressed that we talked about Justin's coaching debut. And to those
Including
people,
me.
I would like to say, go to hell.
That's one way to do it.
What does the final form of this team look like this season? We're seeing what they're playing like so far. We're seeing what the infusion of an Isaiah Hartenstein, a kind of traditional big man, as in the sense of the size. We're seeing now Alex Caruso get back. Still missing Chet Holmgren, obviously. what does it look like when they're healthy? What does the lineup look like? What does the rotation look like? What does the gameplay look like? Have we had a chance to kind of envision what this might look like progressing forward?
We're gonna have a good discussion about this, but I also want to tease. We've got some similar questions that we got in the Discord today that we're going to talk about on our exclusive Patreon. So we'll talk about it here. We'll probably go a bit deeper and take some rabbit holes on the Patreon show.
I'm good at those.
Rabbit holes? You sure are. I think, like, I'll kick us off here. I'm not going to do a soapbox, but I think what the final form that I'm like envisioning and most excited about is not even the Chet iHeart next to each other lineups. It's the flip lineups, because like if you watch the games, Hartenstein has been awesome. Like, this team is phenomenal. He's on the floor. When he goes off the floor, they go back to the small ball, which can be effective at times. But there's also been games where situationally it's kind of hurt them. I think Houston's one example. And I think if you get in a situation where they're both healthy and you're rotating those guys and then staggering a few minutes together, that's like the final form that I keep envisioning, just like that one component of the game, especially on the defensive end, where like two of the best paint protector defensive centers in the league are going to be flanking each other. Like, that's ridiculous.
That you took the words out of my mouth, actually, Nick, because I think Jacob, in the Discord earlier this week was asking, has Hartenstein played well enough to earn a spot in the starting lineup alongside Chet, right? Like, that was the debate we had most of the offseason. His play has been so good that you asked that question, but I think the staggering is what gets really fascinating for this team, because it's the exact same discussion we just had about, okay, you take Lou Dort off the floor, and here comes Alex Caruso. Okay, you take Isaiah Hartenstein off the floor, here comes Chet Holmgren, or vice versa. That's so tough. That's so difficult to play against. Not only because they're both phenomenal players, but they do bring a different element when they're out on the floor. But it's not an element that has like a glaring weakness, like playing small ball. Like you said, Nick, like that can be an effective strategy. But overall, there are strategies to overcome a small ball team. There's not as many strategies to overcome Chet Holmgren. And I think that dynamic is going to be so much fun, because the depth at all five positions for this team goes up. Whereas now that is kind of like the dent in the armor that teams can abuse.
Yeah.
I think what's crazy for me when I think about this team's final form is how good they've been up to this point. Like, we often talk about 20 games being like a good sample size. It's easy to get discouraged or excited based off 5 games, 10 games, but 20 games starts to feel real enough that you can start to like draw some bigger conclusions from. This team is like exceeding all expectations. Like, everybody listening to this has seen the stats that go around on Twitter, the graphics that go around on Twitter of like, they are statistically through 20-ish games, competing for like best team ever categories. And that's insane. It is still 20 games, right? And there's a long way to go, and they have some tough stretches they're going to have to go to. But a majority of that 20 games, this team has not been at full strength. And you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
And barring some catastrophic injury or some just like chaotic happening that we are not foreseeing, there's no reason. Yeah, right. There's no reason to think that they won't be better.
I mean, the thing that sticks out to me, this may be a stat that's like a game off. So if it's a game off, give me some grace. I think Oklahoma City is 16-2 when one of Chet or Hart plays. Now imagine when they both play.
Dope.
Imagine when they
That's
both play.
dope.
I'm to the point, guys. I think it's going to take some working in and getting feet back under everybody. I think that whenever it's healthy, when everyone's healthy, I think you have a solid starting 5, and that's just who you run with. which is Shai, Dub, Dort, Chet, Hart.
There's a question in the chat from Georgie asking, when Chet comes back, does he start or does he spend some time coming off the bench?
He
Starting
starts.
game one?
He starts game one. Taylor, you're muted. You've been saying a lot of stuff.
Sorry, I'm still muted. I was going to say, unless it's something like where the Thunder medical staff want him to kind of like ramp up in terms of minutes, yeah, he's going to start immediately. And I agree completely. Like Hartenstein's.
What would it look like if he ramped up in the G League?
It's stupid.
Would be absurd. Also, if he got hurt in the G League, can you imagine
Remember-
the backlash?
Remember watching Poku in the G League? Now imagine watching Chet.
I loved watching
We saw
Poku in the
who's
NBA.
dominate the G League. I can only imagine what Chet would look like.
I think that's the starting five. I think Hartenstein's just too good, guys.
Yeah.
For a long time, I wanted AC to start, and I thought AC would start, and he's never started. I think Hartenstein starts.
I agree completely.
The playmaking is absurd. I knew he was a good passer. I didn't know he was this. Is he a top 3 passer on the team?
I think he may be the best passer on the
Is
team.
it-
Now Josh
is
Giddey's
it-
gone.
Is it Shai, Dub, and Hartenstein as the top 3?
Yeah. I think Hartenstein might be the best playmaker. I mean, that behind the back pass he had to Caruso.
over the head
Insane.
ace,
Oh my
dude.
gosh.
Insane.
And there's more of that too. Like he had another one there in the second half where he was up towards the high post, gets a nice little like no look, two-handed bounce pass to I think it was Cason cutting baseline. Like his IQ and court vision is just out of this world. And I
It's
agree, it
exceeded
fits
my
any lineup.
expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
far
we also-
exceeded my expectations. And I think that negates some of the spacing issues you have with him not shooting threes. And I think if you get he and Chet out there together, I think they just cook, guys. And then, like you mentioned, Justin, the what the rotation looks like. Hart comes off the bench, Wiggins comes in. Then later off, Chet goes to the bench, Hart comes back in. And you have 48 minutes of rim protection. You probably have, let's say both of them play around 33 minutes a night. You probably have 15 minutes of them playing together, 7 to start the first, 7 to start the third. When Dort comes off, you have AC come on. When Dub goes off, you have Wiggins come on. When Shai goes off, you have Isaiah Joe come on. Like, the lineups are going to be sick.
You can almost do like line changes with this team,
Yeah.
which is nuts.
Or hockey substitutions.
Right. That's what. Yeah. Exactly.
We
crazy.
talked preseason, pre-injury struggles that the Thunder have had about Hart and Chet together. How that's going to allow Chet to roam a little more defensively. Like that rim protection is going to be absurd. But one thing we haven't talked about so much during this segment is this team as they're currently constructed. We saw that in the first half last night against the Pelicans. And we saw it. I'm going blank which game it was. We saw some with the Toronto, but the game before that where J-Dub and Shai just absolutely took over in tandem. Like that is this team at their best. And
Yeah.
we still haven't seen it consistently.
And
And they can
just
get there.
imagine the versatility. You get to the playoffs and you need to play big, you got it.
Yep.
You get to the playoffs and you need to play small, you've got that. You have a possession where you just need to get defenders out there. You've got a 10-point lead with 3 minutes to go in game 4 of the West semis. And you just need to get guys out there that can just prevent the other team from scoring those 10 points. You've got that lineup. You're down 8 points in the final 2 minutes, and you just need some gunners who can score the ball. You've got that lineup.
Yep.
It just
Versatility everywhere.
they have a little bit of everything.
Yep.
And you can mix and match the pieces like so seamlessly.
It's
It's
fun.
just-
It's fun to think about. And I like I
Yes.
said, what's crazy is how good they've been, despite not being at full strength. That it gets stupid exciting to think about what it looks like when it is full strength. Like the back half of the season is going to be so much fun, and the first quarter has already been super fun.
I'll tell you, I sometimes think about that one preseason game. Was it the first preseason game where we got the Chet Hartenstein DHO dunk I think about that a lot. I sometimes dream about it.
It's because you're a sicko.
You shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Question. When you think about the final form, I know we've talked about like the guys that are primary pieces and the rotations and all that kind of stuff, but like thinking bigger picture about the roster, has the Hartenstein return to play and the events that have unfolded more recently led you to believe that in that final form come April playoff time, is Ousmane Dieng sitting on the bench in a Thunder warm-up, or is he elsewhere? And we have a different player playing in the lineup.
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters if he's on the bench or not, because he's not playing either way.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not on the bench and somebody else is playing because he was part of a trade, that does make a difference. Like quite literally makes a difference.
For sure. I don't know if they're going to make a move. I think they like what they got. We'll see. Like if they trade Oos, like it's going to have to be attached to other valuable things to get something back, I think. And even if you bring back somebody, I just feel like minutes are going to be hard to come by when this team is healthy.
Yep.
I mean, you already have a top.
Unless you take Dylan Jones minutes,
that's
probably the only spot.
Yeah, they have 9 guys who I don't know if they can bring somebody in and get minutes over those guys.
Yeah.
And Shai, Dort, Dub, Chet, Hartenstein, Caruso, Cason, Joe, and Wiggins.
Look,
I have a hard time seeing somebody else coming in and getting minutes over those guys, because the level of player you'd have to get in to play minutes over any of those 9 has to be a pretty significant player. And I just don't know if they're going to make that move.
I agree with you. I'm going to give you the same energy I came into the season with in our preseason preview pod.
I'm ready.
Don't think about the regular season. Think about the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You're assuming that they're still rolling through teams like they are, which has been kind of a weak schedule. You're assuming they're fully healthy and all 9 of those guys are on the floor. And you're assuming they don't need any extra firepower when they get to the big games against, forget the Western Conference, you play the Celtics. Like you're telling me that you're just fine with these 9 and just rolling in. No need to make a move.
It's a good point.
I'm pretty close, especially considering future implications of bringing people in. Like, who can they bring in at the deadline who you say, yep, this significantly increases their odds to win a title this season?
I'll say it for Johnson. I agree. But
no, that would be big. I think even smaller than that.
Right.
You're an Isaiah Joe ankle tweak in game 3 from a series being flipped. Like you look at his plus minus, he changes the damn game. Forget his 3-point shooting, how many points he scores. Like that dude is a plus minus freak. He goes down with an ankle tweak that's out. He's out 2 games, that game 4 and 5. To have somebody else that's there, even if he's not in the 9, he becomes part of the 9. I just think if you have this window of 2 years where this is like probably the best time to go all in and push, given your cap flexibility, as long as you don't take on long-term money, why would you not just get some insurance?
That and Aaron Wiggins. And we talked about Dennis Schroeder. We've talked about Cam Johnson. I think a good example of a player, what you're getting at, Nick, is like a Dorian Finney-Smith. Aaron Wiggins goes down to Dorian Finney-Smith who can come in. I think he's on an expiring too. Like having some extra firepower when you have this embarrassment of riches. I think there's going to be, it gets to a certain point where you can make that kind of trade and it doesn't even matter the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
And to Nick's point, why wouldn't you just have that insurance?
Yeah. I like the way you said scheme.
Scheme.
The Hartenstein scheme.
The Hartenstein.
Schmear. Get some schmear on my bagel.
Good grief. No, I agree though, Jacob. I don't know or think that this team's going to make a Cam Johnson size move. But if you,
I think they're going to kick some picks down the road. If that,
I think they could do that. But I think if you could get a guy, I'm trying to think of a name, like think about the Mavs last year. Like Jaden freaking Hardy came in and just gave you some energy minutes that flipped some games. He was not part of their 9-man regular season rotation, But as things unfold in the playoffs, he gave you a spark because he was willing and able to.
For sure. No, I get it.
It's a good point.
I also just think, in the grand scheme of things, they are going to look for that in more picks. Like, not like the draft pick, but what the draft pick produces in a player. Like, what if that's Topic next year? What if it's...
Topic can help you win a championship this year.
Say it again?
Topic can't help you win a championship this year.
Yeah, that's why I said next year, brother.
Yeah, but we're talking about trades, the final form.
Yeah,
Like,
but I'm also
AJ
saying
Mitchell
5 years.
And I get it. Like,
I think
getting
AJ Mitchell could come in and flip a game for you.
He could.
Right. Getting him those reps, like, that's important long term. I understand that too. But at the same time, we're getting to a point where Shai and Dub are performing at such a high level that almost is like malpractice, in my opinion. Like, you can't just stick to this forever. You got to balance it at a certain point.
I mean, like, a perfect example. Last year, Gordon Hayward was a flop, but his salary ended up being Hartenstein. So it worked out perfectly. To put it bluntly, you're someone not named Gordon Hayward that actually could give you minutes as a ninth man in the playoffs from maybe going 7 against the Mavs or beating the Mavs.
Yeah, for sure.
And who knows what happens from there. Like, you have to, if you can, Sam's never going to make it back against the wall move. He doesn't need to. But you're crazy if you don't think he's going to be sniffing hard at the trade deadline to try to get a marginal piece.
Hard. That's what I do with the cocaine.
What?
Sniff it hard. That's a joke. I've never done jokes in my
Pick
life.
the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
We got to move on. We're at an hour 10. But to get one of those needle mover type players, Nick, those, God, we got a snorting reference. We got a needle reference.
I didn't say snort. I said sniff. You just took sniff as a snort.
And that's what I do when I sniff.
Cam Johnson makes Nick's needle move.
Save that for the Patreon pod. Let's stop talking about Nick's needle. I do like the alliteration, though. In order to get one of those needle movers, I don't know if they have the requisite salary matching to do so.
Yeah, I mean, for Cam Johnson is like, that's a great example of where they don't really have.
Yeah, and to get there, like Oos, J. Will, K. Rich. Well, now you're doing a 3-for-1.
Right?
Like,
No,
that
totally.
doesn't make sense.
I don't even think the player that I'm thinking of here is like a needle mover. It is an insurance depth guy. I'm thinking like I'm just looking at like similar contracts. Give me a. Let's see here. Maybe you make a move for John Conchar. I'm not saying I'm advocating for him to come to Oklahoma City.
Does that make your needle move?
He's on a $6 million contract. You can get him and make salary match. And I don't think he would ever be in the 10-man rotation or even 12-man rotation fully healthy. But in the playoffs, he's a guy that's shown he can shoot in the past. Like, you just have to go see what is out there as an insurance policy.
That's fair. Insurance policy, I'm cool with.
Yeah.
Guy breaking the top 8 of the playoff rotation, I don't think's happening. You guys want to do some predictions before we get out of here? You don't have an option. We're doing predictions before we get out of here. There is one game actually on the schedule for this week. I don't know what the other games are because they depend on what happens on Tuesday.
I was going to say, how are we going to do predictions for that? Just send it to you, I guess, once we're
doing a 1-game prediction week.
Oh.
That's worth 3 points.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
It's a super duper money ball.
Super duper money ball.
Now, so everyone is making their money ball bet. JD typically has a money ball sounder. It randomizes every week. So here are the rules. I ask you your prediction. You tell us what you're predicting. And then you use one of our sounders, but you have to create it yourself because we don't have the soundboard here. It can be any sounder in the toolbox.
Okay.
Makes sense? Nick, you good?
Yep.
All right. I don't know where Taylor's at. He's probably with
He's
the
watching
boy.
the Chiefs.
Are they losing?
They're up 1. I don't know if they have the ball or not, but that's every Chiefs game ever this season. Doesn't matter who they play. They're close game.
True.
Justin. Tuesday night, 8:30
I wanna
p.m.
go
in the
first.
Paycom Center. We've got the Thunder taking on the scummy Dallas Mavericks for an NBA Cup. Well, they're already in the NBA Cup, so it's not a berth.
It's a berth to the semis.
It's the knockout round.
It's the
It's a
knockout
berth to
round.
Vegas.
It's a Vegas berth. My favorite type of berth.
You've only had a couple. I'm surprised you like them that much.
Anyway, before
What is your prediction, Justin?
Thank you. My prediction. Why I don't want to go first. My prediction is an L. I think the Mavericks beat the Thunder on Tuesday night. And for my sounder, I'm going to bring back an old classic. The loser. You're a loser.
Beautiful. I love it. Taylor, the rule is whenever you make your prediction, we're doing one game this week. That is the Mavericks, since we don't know the rest of the games. So it's a triple money ball. You get 3 points or lose 3 points. Since we don't have a sounder, you make your own sounder out of our sounder library with your own mouth. Nick, what is your prediction for Tuesday night?
It's an L for me. I think it's a close game. I think it goes down to the wire. I think that Dallas, as much as it pains everybody on this podcast to hear it, is probably the hottest team in the NBA right now. Like, they're playing really damn good on both ends.
I think really good.
All right, that is your money ball. What's your sounder?
It's the only thing I know how to do.
And all Nick knows how to do is Riz.
Yeah, Mavs will shoot a bunch more free throws than Oklahoma City. Just be prepared.
You can bank on that.
I might start drinking Tuesday night.
Oh, if you do, drink Prairie beer.
Drink a Prairie beer. There you go.
Taylor, prediction for Tuesday.
Give me the W.
Hey.
I cannot pick against even the emotional hedge isn't enough. I think Thunder will take care of business here at home. So I'm going with the Thunder to win and Vegas.
That's the God. You took it from me.
I
That
knew he
has
was
to be
going to
the
do
sounder.
that. It's one game too early, right?
No,
Or
if they
does
win, they go to
no.
Vegas.
This one gets you to Vegas?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That was a good pull. Good pull.
I am also going to W. And this is strictly emotional. I hate the Dallas Mavericks. I hate their fans. I hate the way that they walk. I hate the way that they talk. I hate the way that they dress.
We need a different sounder. You have to do it.
What sounder am I going to go with since Taylor stole mine?
We have a request from Smoot in the chat to do J-Dub's.
I think you should do the Kendrick
Bingo!
Lamar song.
There
The
you
Kendrick
go.
Lamar song, Jacob.
Not that one.
Which one?
That
That's
was
the
the one I
only
was
one I
talking
know.
about,
Oh,
actually.
okay. Never mind.
Which one were you talking about?
Mustard.
You want a
Yes.
mustard?
Yes.
Mustard! There you go.
I was
Just
hoping
so-
I'd get that for my intro again.
Oh, I forgot. I'm so sorry. You should have your kids on the basketball team yell that
That's not
at
a
the
good
beginning of the
idea.
game. Every huddle where they all put their hands in, 1, 2, 3, mustard.
Dude, that Chiefs field goal just doinked in. That's insane, Taylor.
Taylor's
Chiefs,
just cackling.
Chiefs luck.
Well, we are done with the doinks for tonight, folks. Thank you for tuning into the
Speak for yourself.
podcast. Subscribe to the Patreon because we are about to turn this podcast off and turn a Patreon pod on. So all of you Patreon folks that are in the chat tonight, you will not only have this podcast, but you got a fresh Patreon pod dropping in the AM. So be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already, the Patreon, there's a QR code up in the top left corner of the screen. You can also just go to patreon.com/theuncontested. Pay $5 a month. That's like nothing in this economy. And you can get access to the Discord. You can get watch parties. You can get stickers. You get bonus pods. You get a ton of cool stuff. You can talk to Thunder Chick in the Discord. That's the selling point. That's worth the $5 right there. Because Thunder Chick, the
Sure
goat.
is. The GOAT.
We also have Connor in the Discord, also the GOAT. And if you like the stupid Pokemon game on the iPhone, you can talk that in the Discord because that's
We
all
got a
they
channel
talk
for
about.
that too.
It's ridiculous. Thank you guys for tuning in. I believe we are not podcasting Wednesday because we are podcasting late night Tuesday after the Thunder beat the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Cup game. I will be here, and I will only talk Luka Doncic slander the entire night on Tuesday night. That is a promise. Cross
Win or
my heart,
lose.
hope to die. We'll see you guys Tuesday. Have a great beginning of your week. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.